Greetings everybody, it's Jim, and today I'm going to give you tons of reasons why you should be playing the Fantasy Trip from Steve Jackson Games. Now, it's no secret that I am a Steve Jackson Games fan, have been for the longest time. Ever since I picked up Illuminati, and then the next thing you know, it's Car Wars, Ogre, off to the races, right? So he just has a gift for making good solid rules and yet the heart of an action-adventure junkie, you know? And, what more could an adolescent teen want? Other than maybe a girlfriend and a steady job, but you get the point, you know? And his games always had that tinge, that little thing that asked, what happens if this was real? You know, there was something about it. His games were always grounded in that kind of idea, no matter how big the fantasy. And why is that? That is because Steve has a background in historical gaming. Now, in his book, Game Design, Theory and Practice, he talks about the historical gaming community and how he used to work for them. And, with historical war gamers, accuracy is key. And I know I work for Columbia Games, who make one of the top 3 war games of all time, according to Board Game Geek. You should definitely go out to the link below and go to their website and check it out. But definitely, they just crave accuracy, but sometimes too much. And this is what Steve would argue in this book. He would say, hey, this rule is really cool and all, but is it an extra hour cool? Would people actually want to sit down for an extra hour and play this game, or play it in the first place, or play it twice and tell their friends? He always had that concept of the salesmanship to a point, marketing at the very least, along with the games, which is why I think he's been so successful throughout the decades. Now, when I see back to Melee, the Fantasy Trip, my first incarnation of the Fantasy Trip was finding this little book called Melee. It's about 32 pages long, no bigger than it is now. I think it's 26 pages. I don't even remember. It's not big. It's not big. And basically, it was just a great gladiator game, and I fell in love with it. Now, the thing is, I had already been playing Dungeons and Dragons, and you wouldn't think that with Dungeons and Dragons, the big baddie of the bunch, that it would dwarf this little obscure 24-page booklet or whatever many pages it is. Not so. This is full of tactical flavor. While Dungeons and Dragons, as fun as it was to play, truly was just walk up to the monster and roll dice to attrition until somebody lost all their hit points. That was it. Now, the thing about this game, that is, Melee also went on to have Wizard, and I love this cover, basically, adding spellcasters to the mix. And I never got my hands on it back then, but In the Labyrinth was their role-playing game. Now, the same idea went for Dungeons and Dragons. It started also as it never started as a role-playing game. It started as a miniatures game. It's just hack and slash, let's push some miniatures together and see what happens. And I can see how this would transform into a role-playing game. You know, somebody's character would constantly survive somehow, and they say, we can't kill Fred! And so they ended up giving the character a name, and then the next thing you know, they give him a story, and they want to keep him alive, so they give him more hit points, and now he's a legend in the game, right? So that's how role-playing probably happened. I'm guessing, but it just makes sense to me. Anyway, but now we got the new incarnations of Melee, Wizard, and TFT, because Steve Jackson got the rights back to it. He couldn't buy them off of Metagaming back in the day, but now, because of some kind of copyright legacy rules, 25 years, and it goes back to the original author, and he's got them, and thankfully, we all get the benefit. So now he's got Melee, which you can get for free, as a matter of fact. Check the link down below. You can get Melee. It's a $15 value for free from Steve Jackson Games' website. By all means, grab it. It's free. Don't wait. Don't wait for me to end the video. Even just go grab it. So he's got my layout, and then then he's got Wizard all boxed up, and of course they've got the Fantasy Trip in the Labyrinth, which is of course the full-blown role-playing game. So let me give you a few more reasons now. Now, we already talked about Melee and how basically it's just a great tactical system, and now you're going to figure it out for yourself with the download link. Wizard is really special because it is so vastly different than the Dungeons & Dragons Wizards that you're used to. Okay? These start out vastly more powerful than the Dungeons & Dragons counterparts. I mean, right off the bat in the Fantasy Trip, you're casting anywhere from 10 to 13 spells, and they ain't cantrips. Okay? You're talking fireballs. You're talking control person, telekinesis, lightning bolts, the whole gamut. The only caveat is you are casting from your life force, so you're losing hit points as you cast. So that keeps it balanced a little bit, but at least you can cast something powerful. As opposed to Frank in Dungeons & Dragons, like, well, you cast your magic missile, now what? We got to protect you all day? And until you get back to the mules, just get back there and we'll come and collect you later. You know, I know it's not like that now. They've made them a little bit more powerful, but it's still pretty much a polar opposite. And the fact that in Wizard, warriors can cast spells too. They just pay 3 times as much for their skill, and because that's the way their world works, and Seedry is the name of their world, basically wizards can learn to cast spells too, because spell casting in Seedry, or in the fantasy trip, it's all about mental projection is what a lot of it is, and you can read more about it. It's one of my favorite aspects of it. It's not just some vague notion that these wizards can do this stuff or mantras or anything. It's all psychic. There's a little bit of science fiction to it, which I always really enjoy. Makes you question a few extra things. But I'll get into that maybe in another video. So let's look at a character sheet here. This is for Melee. The only difference between the Melee character sheet and a Wizard in the Labyrinth role-playing game character sheet is the shield. I mean the spells and the skills on the side. Okay, so basically this. Now you might think while looking at this, well, there's 2 things you might think. One, is this GURPS? Now, I'll admit, it shares its DNA, because when Steve left the metagaming, he wanted to buy the fantasy trip, but he couldn't. They asked for a crazy amount of money. He couldn't afford it, obviously, and he couldn't get it, but yet he had all these ideas. So what he did is he went the polar opposite. While a fantasy trip was very simplistic, he went back to his roots of historical wargaming, basically, and just made everything really super detailed. And they're great reference books, and it is a good game. It's just that if you're getting a little scared off or have seen GURPS and been a little intimidated, do not worry. This is not it. All right, it's far from it. It's total polar opposite. So we're looking at the character sheet now. Now, what are levels of power in the fantasy trip? Okay, what it is you add up strength, dexterity, and IQ, and that's your power level. Okay, this is a 32 point character. Don't worry about the parentheses in dexterity. It doesn't count. That's something different. That's an adjustment from how much armor you're wearing. It goes down. But you add up strength, dexterity, and IQ, and this is a 32 point character. MA is movement allowance. That's just how many hexes you can move on the board a turn, and that is modified by how much armor you're wearing also, and the race of your character. But strength, dexterity, and IQ. Now, you might think there's only 3 stats in the game that you're rolling against? I mean, that doesn't make much sense. I mean, most games have 6. Well, the thing is, when you have 6 or more stats, you're risking a lot more dump stats, though. Okay? When it really comes down to it, when you really boil it down, there's only 3 stats that any character really needs, and that's these 3. So let's go over them. Strength is all about the health of the body. Whether you're trying to lift something, trying to resist poison, your endurance, it is your literal hit points as well. Okay, that's a nice little thing to know. Dexterity is all about the movement of the body, whether you're trying to unlock something with your hands, or you're jumping over a chasm, or you're doing some kind of acrobatic roll, you're rolling against dexterity. And then there's IQ, which is all about the mind. That is a level of how many skills and spells you can know, the quality of the skills and the spells that you know. And of course, it's about mental resistance, willpower, and that sort of thing. So all those 3 things really covers it all. There's no dump stat. You can't just say, I'm going to totally ignore this stat. And by the way, Steve Jackson, with this game, it is the first point-buy system ever published. So any game that you see out there that has a point-buy system, you can thank Steve Jackson, because he's the one that invented it with this game. So that is the basics of how characters work. And they're easy to make. PCs in 3. You know, as opposed to any other game, you can make characters just within really quick. Even you're looking at Melee here, but even when you add Wizard and the in the Labyrinth rules, PCs in 3 minutes, man. It's really simple. And by the way, there is a setting that I talk about a lot. I work for Columbia Games, and it's called Harn World, which would work great for the fantasy trip if you want your own another setting to go along with it. Harn is a medieval fantasy world, and I highly suggest it for it because, again, probably if you like the combat system, if you find you like the combat system for Melee, you're going to probably like Harn World as a setting because it's based off of medieval authenticity. Okay, the same guys that make the Columbia Block War games that I talked about earlier, that talked about the historical accuracy, that's what this is. I mean, most games have swords and armor and everything like that, but this is if medieval times really met fantasy. What would it be like? And this is what it is. So I highly suggest Harn World. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about here, let's see here, is Melee for free on Tabletop Simulator. So what it is I actually created, with Steve's permission, I created this for Tabletop Simulator. It's on Steam, and you can get Tabletop Simulator for about $19.95. You can play with your friends online, but this add-on is free, and you can get it right now. And it's a lot of fun to play the game. Great way to learn it. I have all the characters here. Everything's imported in, and you got the dice here to roll. I mean, obviously, with the touch of a button, you can get to your characters. You can look at your opponent's characters. Touch of a button. Pan out here, and you even have the rules right there, so you can just look at the rules while you're playing it. Just look them up as you're going, and that's just I'm glad to have been able to put this out for all of you. I know that a lot of people have been enjoying it. So, folks, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope that you do enjoy the idea of playing the Fantasy Trip, and I'll see you next video.